Bastiodon is one of the most degenerate Pokemon of all time. Ever since its release in 2019, Bastiodon has been the king of one strategy: rock, paper, scissors. Basti is the second most bulky Pokemon in the entire game, and when you combine that with its whopping 9 resistances, it is almost impossible to get off the board if you don't have a counter. You can give an Altaria a 2 shield advantage and Bastiodon will still find a way to win that matchup, but it cuts both ways. Say that you've got one of the 3 weaknesses that Bastiodon has: water, ground, or fighting, and all of a sudden, no matter how many shields Bastiodon has, it's going to go the complete wrong way for Basti. But a Pokemon that is so hard win or hard lose, feast or famine, can be a lot less skill based and lean a little bit more into luck, which can make it really hard to actually succeed in a tournament setting. When the official Pokemon Go circuit began in 2022, Rob Drogo was able to win the Perth Regional Championships with a Bastiodon, becoming the 4th ever Pokemon Go regional champion and the first to get Bastiodon the win. But this was also the smallest regional ever, at only 12 people, and for years, this was the only taste of gold that Bastiodon ever had. Caleb Peng, the most famous Bastiodon user of all time, was able to get close with a 2nd place finish in San Diego 2023, and a 2nd place finish in Fresno 2023, and a 2nd place finish in Portland 2024. I'm really starting to think that Caleb is a big silver medal fan, but he's not the only one. Bastiodon was clearly enjoying the silver too, because it also got 2nd place in Melbourne at the hands of Triple Crit, and also 2nd in Bologna 2024 with Tomahawk UK. It seemed doomed to never see a gold medal again. That was until the 2025 season. 2025 didn't really open its arms to Bastiodon so much as it spit in its face to start with. At the very beginning of the season, it got hit with a smackdown nerf, but that wasn't the real bad news. The bad news came in the form of Clodsire, the king of the brand new meta and something that absolutely destroyed Bastiodon. But it got even worse when Primeape and Annihilape were both given Rage Fist, rocketing them to the top of the LAIC meta. And important to note here, the Shadow forms were actually separated from the regular forms, so the usage in this tournament was actually much bigger and they were a seriously big deal. And all of this meant that in the 2025 season, for the first 6 months, Bastiodon had absolutely no place. Enter the Might and Mastery update in March of 2025. This was probably the biggest mid-season move update of all time, and Pokemon like Lapras, Mandibuzz, Jumpluff, and Talonflame were all looking to increase, alongside a lot of Bastiodon's more neutral wins, like Cradily, Sableye, and Furret. To be fair, there were definitely still some counters to Bastiodon, but Bastiodon's biggest recipe for success has always been people not considering it as a threat when building their teams. In fact, when I was on a call with some other content creators and casters to discuss the brand new meta, they didn't really want to hear it when I mentioned Bastiodon. But depending on how the teams of 6 are going to run, I think that Bastiodon could come back.
Oh, come on. Now you're engagement farming. You're engagement farming now.
I like what you think.
But I truly believed that Bastiodon could be real. Enter Master Mahir 295 from India. Mahir is a regular GBL leaderboarder and placed top 8 in the 2023 India playoffs. India doesn't have regional championships like so many other regions, and instead has a single 2-stage qualifying process. First, you have to fight through over 260 battlers in an Indian qualifier, where only the top 32 progress to the playoffs. Once in the playoffs, you fight through a double elimination format, where only the 4 remaining battlers at the end will progress to qualify for the Pokemon Go World Championships. I actually have a video covering Mahir's run through the qualifier stage, where he actually won the entire thing with a Clodsire and Annihilape strategy, 2 Pokemon that Bastiodon doesn't really enjoy. But now that he's into the top 32, and with his world qualification on the line, Mahir heard the sounds, he heard the rumblings, and he knew there was only one thing that he had to do. He had to run Bastiodon. That first stage Indian qualification process was actually the first tournament held in the brand new Might and Mastery season, and so Mahir made a pretty good read because Annihilape and Clodsire actually covered this entire meta pretty well, but he decided to make a change going to the playoffs. Mahir actually built this team and intended to bring it to the playoffs, no Bastiodon in sight. The idea was that he basically brought 6 neutral Pokemon, Talonflame, Shadow Sableye, Shadow Jumpluff, Lapras, Guzzlord, and Claydol, and no matter what his opponents brought into him, he should still have some level of play. And you might say like, okay, come on, is Claydol really a neutral Pokemon? And I would argue that the answer is yes. Not only if you're locked in as a ground-type Claydol into a grass-type Cradily, can you just land an Ice Beam and win the game, but even against Pokemon like Azumarill, Mahir actually built his Claydol to have a little bit more attack stat so that it reached a Mudslap breakpoint, making the Azumarill matchup even safer. And so really, it seems like a perfect team, all of these neutral Pokemon ready to fight. But unfortunately, there was one massive hole. and his name was Beelzeboy. At the 2024 World Championships, Beelzeboy placed 4th in the world after winning that year's India playoffs. And slight spoilers, but he then went on to become the 2025 World Champion after that. All this to say, he was seen as the biggest threat in this tournament, and Master Mihir absolutely knew it. In the Indian qualifiers, Mihir won with a 7-1 record. His one loss, Beelzeboy. And Beelzeboy was running something a little bit wacky. He was running Carbink. Now, Carbink is kind of similar to Bastiodon in a lot of ways. It's a very bulky rock-type Pokemon. It sort of just out-bulks, out-damages its way through matchups. Very good in its good matchups, very bad in its bad matchups. And this team from Master Mihir is really weak to Carbink. And so it was time to make a change. Mihir knew, if I want to win this tournament, if I want to qualify for Worlds, I will need to get through Beelzeboy. Therefore, it's time to make this team a little less Carbink prone. It's time to ditch Talonflame, and it's time for Bastiodon. Now, Bastiodon, as well as being able to beat Carbink, does actually give Mihir some extra advantages. First of all, it forces your opponents to actually think and play differently when they verse you. If, for example, you're playing someone that has a Bastiodon on their team of 6, you know that it could be lurking around. If you have a neutral lead scenario, you actually are going to be more pressured to shield up, because the last thing you want is to get hard countered by a Bastiodon in the back, so you really try and fight for switch advantage. You're more likely to shield baits, you're more likely to make mistakes when it comes to winning that switch advantage, and that can be used to Master Mihir's advantage. And so, with his team locked in, Mihir was ready to take on the top 32 in India and try and fight it out for Bastiodon's second win of all time after 3 years. Round number 1 of the Indian playoffs, and Mihir is up against Sidby, who has Swalot, Lapras, Jumpluff, and Azumarill, all of which are vulnerable to Bastiodon, by the way, and then Claydol and Malamar, I guess the 2 Bastiodon answers on the team. Now, Mihir doesn't have to bring Bastiodon, but every single game, Sidby will need to think about it. We'll need to consider what if Bastiodon is in the back every single time. Now, jumping into game number 1, we'll see Mihir is running that Shadow Jumpluff lead into Azumarill, and unfortunately, no Bastiodon in game number 1. We have Claydol and Lapras in the back. Now, importantly, there are a lot of games in this series, a lot of games in this tournament that we do not see Bastiodon. It's a big bench pressure guy, but it definitely has its moments, so stick around because Bastiodon is going to do some very big work a little later on in this tournament. In the lead, though, we have the Shadow Jumpluff into Azu. We landed the first Acrobatics, and 1 more Acrobatics is all we would need to secure the KO, and so the opponent does shield. Mihir catches the Ice Beam onto Lapras as well, which is a massive catch, nullifying so much energy from that Azumarill, and they decide to swap into their Claydol, which could in theory be their big Bastiodon answer, but we'll see how the game goes on. Sparkling Aria brings that Claydol down to below half health. Lapras can tank a Rock Tomb here and still will be able to survive to get to its next Sparkling Aria, and even after that Rock Tomb attack debuff, this would still be enough to secure the knockout onto that Claydol, and that is exactly how it goes. We swap into our own Jumpluff now that Sidby's Jumpluff comes out. Importantly, the opponent is running an Acrobatics Energy Ball moveset. They do not have Aerial Ace, and so the opponent tries to catch a move onto their Azumarill, but Mihir stays calm, stays patient, he knows where the game is going, he gets the KO on Azumarill, and now Jumpluff is in a Jumpluff mirror match. It has the shield, it has a little bit of energy as well. Comfortably going to get to the Acrobatics here. There are no shields on the opponent's side, and this is going to bring Jumpluff right down to the red, and now Claydol can come in here, eat an Energy Ball pretty comfortably, and we only need to get to a Rock Tomb to secure the knockout, secure the win, and even if Jumpluff was able to get to a charge move, it would barely be by anything, and Jumpluff would then be able to come in from Mihir's side and secure the game, and so Claydol takes game number 1. I should note as well that all of the games in this tournament, including the Grand Finals, are a best of 3, and so we are going into game number 2 of round 1. We've got the Jumpluff mirror match here, and it is the Shadow versus the non-Shadow as well, and because they don't have Aerial Ace, we pretty much know that they're likely to go for Acrobatics every single time, which does give me here a lot of information for sure. We get what looks like Charge Attack priority here, which is big for me here, getting the Acrobatics to bring that Jumpluff right down to the red, shielding up as well so that we confidently can win this matchup, and Aerial Ace is all that is going to be required here, and that is going to be enough. Mihir goes a little bit over the move to make sure that Sidby doesn't try and catch like he did in the previous game, and then actually swaps into Lapras to try and get the Psywave down. Instead, Sidby swaps into the Azumarill, and this isn't that bad for Lapras, to be honest with you. Still able to do a lot of damage with the Psy Waves and the Sparkling Arias. Might have, very much over-farmed here, so we can just throw a few Sparkling Arias back to back. But in the end, it does look like Azumarill is going to be able to hang on. It's going to be bulky enough to just outlast this Lapras, but that is all just going to give Master Mihir an opportunity to get energy in the back. If you did see Master Mihir's battles in the Indian qualifier, again, the video's on the channel, he is just a master of sort of knowing the game state, knowing his energy, knowing where the game is going, and playing to that advantage. And so we swap into the Claydol, eat an Ice Beam, and in comes the Lapras. But because the Lapras has swapped into the Claydol, Claydol actually outpaces to that very first Rock Tomb, getting the attack debuff onto Lapras, and forcing Lapras to actually throw its energy before Claydol can get to another move. Down goes the Claydol, and now it is Jumpluff's time to shine. Jumpluff is in such a strong position here because the opposing Lapras has Skull Bash, which means that he can comfortably stay in, just farm up a ton of energy, no Ice Beam in sight, no super effective damage, Aerial Ace down the Lapras. In comes the Jumpluff. Aerial Ace down the Jumpluff as well. There's barely any health here, and then it's just that Azumarill in the back, and once more, third time in a row, Aerial Ace down the Azumarill, and Jumpluff full sweep of the team, securing game number 2 and securing the round for Master Mihir. Round number 2 and now secured in the top 24. Master Mihir is up against Dekachan 66, another GBL leaderboarder, and someone running Golisopod, Lapras, Jumpluff, Galarian Weezing, and Guzzlord, all Pokemon that are vulnerable to Bastiodon, and then Claydol as that one real Bastiodon answer. And because of this, Bastiodon is probably, well, look, Claydol is going to be coming every single game. That's like sort of a pretty easy guess on the Dekachan side, which does mean that Master Mihir's Sableye actually has a lot more value going into this next round. So we'll see how it does play out. Lapras into the Jumpluff to lead. Dekachan's Jumpluff, I believe, has Aerial Ace Acrobatics, so no Energy Ball to really threaten the Lapras, but it does mean that, Acrobatics is still around. And first goes for the Acrobatics, puts some big damage onto Master Mihir's Lapras, with Lapras now throwing the Ice Beam back, getting a shield out, and then swapping out into the Jumpluff mirror match. The opponent does have a little bit of an energy advantage, which makes this a bit of a scary matchup, and it gets even scarier when they get the Aerial Ace bait. So Master Mihir needs to make a big play here, lands the Acrobatics to bring it down to low health. Unfortunately, still gets a move off because of all of that energy advantage, but Mihir shields up the Acrobatics, and now Golisopod actually swaps in. And this is kind of crazy because an X-Scissor will bring it down to pretty, half health, but Jumpluff will now guaranteed get 2 charge attacks off here, or only 1 because the Acrobatics goes through, secures the knockout on Golisopod. Claydol comes in here, and without no Energy Ball, Acrobatics is just the move to click. It is just a one-click Pokemon. Acrobatics going to get that last shield out of the Claydol. This Rock Tomb probably enough to secure the KO against Jumpluff, and now it is Sableye's time to shine. The Foul Play going to go through straight away to secure the KO against this Claydol. That's exactly the reason it was here. Actually, it didn't. Psywave was actually the decision maker, and getting game number 1 in pretty dominant fashion. Game number 2, though, we are Lapras versus Lapras. I'm not sure if this Lapras does have Skull Bash or Ice Beam. I guess we'll find out a little bit later, but we are running that Jumpluff and Sableye in the back as again. Which just makes a lot of sense because, again, we are predicting that Claydol is going to be hiding out in the back just in case of a Bastiodon. Lands the Sparkling Aria into the Lapras and then swaps into the Jumpluff. Shielding up, it is the Ice Beam Lapras, so that's a little bit scary, but the opponent swaps into the Galarian Weezing, and I actually don't mind this play from the opponent. They know that there is a Lapras running around on Mihir's side that would be doing super effective Psywave damage. He doesn't want any part of that, and so swaps into the Weezing into a matchup that it can actually win here, with Sludge doing so much damage to the Jumpluff, and Mihir is actually just going to let it go. Lapras is going to come back in here, and now it's going to be that Sableye doing a lot of work in the back because Mihir is actually no shielding here, eating the Brutal Swing. Lapras comes in, and now Sableye swapping in. I think Master Mihir is trying to get a big chunky energy advantage on this Sableye, ready to go. So eating the Sparkling Aria has to protect shield this move here if you want to keep this Sableye alive. And so now has over 2 Foul Plays, 100 energy loaded on this Sableye. In comes the Galarian Weezing, which will actually take this Dazzling Gleam quite well. It's a bit of a wall to that Sableye, actually. Catch a move into the Lapras, but that's a lot of energy now lost on the Lapras. Sableye still has a lot of work to do here. Claydol does swap in, but the Sparkling Aria is going to bring it down to half health. There is still a shield on that Claydol side, and I think that Mud Slap was probably enough to secure the KO. If Sableye had just a little bit more health, then maybe it would be able to clutch out that matchup, but it just means that we're going to go into game number 3, jump off into the Lapras. And we've actually got the same 3 Pokemon on Master Mihir's side, perhaps predicting that Claydol is going to come again. That Galarian Weezing, though, is a bit of a problem if you can't land that Lapras into it. So we'll see how this game does play out. Mihir's already 1 shield down, but he's going to add a lot of damage on, getting the Aerial Ace through, no shield, and Lapras can now comfortably stay in and throw an Ice Beam. I don't think this is what Master Mihir wanted, but now that the Claydol swaps in, Mihir's deciding to go for the big acrobatics, trying to get some damage onto Claydol, or maybe just getting a shield, and then the swap into the counter of Sableye. Sableye is going to be able to tank 1 Rock Tomb, but the Mud Slaps are adding up so heavily that this is not a great spot for Mihir to be in, and so the Foul Play is going to get that last shield. Doesn't unfortunately get that next Foul Play off either, which does mean that it is going to be all down to Jumpluff and Lapras. Jumpluff is going to be able to tank a Rock Tomb from this Claydol, not an Ice Beam though. Ice Beam going to take it out, and now it is Lapras' game to win. Lapras is going to be able to get to this Sparkling Aria. The opponent swaps into the Weezing to try and catch the Sparkling Aria after charging up some more energy. 1 Sparkling Aria down to half health. We need to land another Sparkling Aria to KO the Weezing. We need to get down the opponents up, both of their remaining Pokemon in the back as well. This is not looking good for Master Mihir at all, but Brutal Swing, we do hang on. We're actually Star Waving all the way down. This might be a win. The Sparkling Aria is going to be enough to secure the KO on this Lapras. I think the next Sparkling Aria will be enough to secure the KO on the Claydol. Somehow, some way, Master Mihir has perfectly engineered this game, getting the win here with the absolute skin of his teeth, 1 HP sitting there on that Lapras, and just 2 Sparkling Arias. The read, the knowledge, the understanding that he just needed to get that full Psy-Wave down on that Galarian Weezing is all that unlocked the game for Master Mihir, made sure that he could get both knockouts in the back, and Lapras clearly MVP of round number 2, but maybe finally, round 3, do we get some Bastiodon action? Spoilers, the answer is yes, which might seem baffling because I'm looking at the other team and there is a Shadow, Annihilate, and Clodsire. Didn't I literally say earlier that that sort of recipe is bad for Bastiodon? And actually, now that I'm looking at Spooky Mafia's team, this is literally Mihir's team. This is the team that he won the qualifiers with. It's what that whole YouTube video is about. All of a sudden, Spooky Mafia has tried to yoink the Mihir team and is now going to try and use it against Mihir himself. Absolutely crazy stuff. I don't know how Bastiodon is going to be used here. I have to assume that it's some sort of bait and switch where it's like Spooky Mafia goes so hard against Bastiodon, doesn't see it, that all of a sudden Bastiodon becomes good again. But we'll jump into game number 1, see how it goes. We have the Shadow Jumpluff into the Lapras. Not a bad scenario, but the opposing Lapras does have Ice Beam, which does mean that we're going to be a little bit scared in this matchup, getting the shield out of the acrobatics as well. Mihir catches the move onto Lapras. If this is an Ice Beam, this is so much energy. It is! It is the Ice Beam. That is a ton of energy just put down this drain from this Lapras back into the ocean, and now it's just actually playing it out. This is really interesting from Spooky Mafia. It sort of tells you that he doesn't really have a better Lapras answer in the back. To be honest, there isn't really any great Lapras answers on Spooky Mafia's team, but maybe that does mean that we are going to see the Clodsire and the Annihilate in the back for Spooky Mafia. Have to wait and see. But actually, Mihir's Lapras going down in this exchange, letting it go and getting Jumpluff in here to farm up some energy. And Aerial Ace is going to be enough to secure the KO here, and the opponent just lets it go. It is a Clodsire in the back. I really wonder if it's the Annihilate, and they were going really hard into the Bastiodon, but the Acrobatics brings it down to about half health. The Claydol swap in, and it is not Annihilate, it is the Jumpluff. And I guess it is Aerial Ace Acrobatics here as well. Aerial Ace bait, unfortunately, for Master Mihir, and so now the Rock Tomb debuff going to get thrown into that Jumpluff, get that last shield out of the opponent, and now if you're Master Mihir, you can comfortably go for the Ice Beam. It's not going to quite secure the KO against that Jumpluff. It's going to survive just by a little bit, but it would put it in Aerial Ace range for Mihir's Jumpluff, and so is then swapping hard into that Jumpluff, bringing that Clodsire back out, and at this point, Mihir can actually let the Jumpluff go, let Claydol try to come in. He's going to have to shield up a move from Clodsire, but this will let him get a full Mud Slap down. He'll be covered with energy. He'll have so much energy ready to go into Spooky Mafia's Jumpluff that he will just need to throw. Oh no, he just barely doesn't get that farm down. Unfortunately, this Stone Edge is going to come through. Wait, Claydol survives! Claydol survives. The Ice Beam going to go through, get the knockout. I mean, this is just clinical stuff here. The Ice Beam securing the win against that Jumpluff, and now we go into game number 2, Lapras versus Sableye and Jumpluff. And because I've already spoiled you that there is a Bastiodon, I guess we know that this game does not go well for Master Mihir, so let's see how it plays out. Lapras into Lapras again. This is an Ice Beam Lapras, no Skull Bash to be seen. So we're just going to be throwing Sparkling Arias back and forth and back and forth. Usually Master Me here would love to catch a move onto this Lapras, but he's already here. And so we're just going to play it out, swapping into the Sableye now. Going to see that Jumpluff actually come out here. There's no Claydolls to really catch here. And so I guess what a Sableye's main role in some sense is that safe swap role, hoping that there is not a Guzzlord in the back, because that would be a little bit bad. You can land the Dazzling Gleam, which would be nice, but Jumpluff's big Fairy Wind damage, well, I say big, it's not that big, but it does add up technically. Dazzling Gleam gonna get not quite the KO against that Jumpluff though. Sableye gonna have to burn a shield here that he really didn't want to have to. And now the Lapras comes in. He tried to get the Sparkling Aria, but now Charge Attack priority goes to Spooky Mafia. Lapras does hang on. We do still get a Sparkling Aria off onto this Lapras, but this is not how Mihir really wanted it to go. Lets all that energy go to waste as well. Wants to try and get that farm down with Sableye, but he can't. The Sparkling Aria gonna almost take him down. He gets one foul play into this Clodsire. I can sort of see why this game is not going that well. We've got that first shield out, and it is a Jumpluff into Clodsire in the back. So many just close, tight calls, just tight calculations that didn't quite go well for Master Mihir. And it does mean that we're going to go into a game number 3 in this top 12 of the Indian playoffs. Again, you need to get to top 4 to qualify for Worlds. And this must be the game. There is a Bastiodon in the back after 2 games, well, 6 games, 7 games of not bringing Bastiodon. We now have it in game number 8. Lapras going to throw the Ice Beam, gets the shield out of that Guzzlord. Guzzlord, also a Pokemon that we have not seen yet come out. And so now it's a big crunch is going to come through. Lapras will be able to shield to get another Ice Beam here if it so chooses, which it does make sense. Dragon Claw getting shielded. The Ice Beam going to be thrown into the Guzzlord. I thought we might be going for an undercharge there, but instead we're just taking out 2 shields comfortably. Now, Claydol would be a disaster here. It is finally time for Bastiodon. Bastiodon is just the absolute wall face that it is, soaking up all of this damage from Guzzlord. A crunch, fine. A defense debuff even coming through. And somehow, because it is just so bulky, it is going to hang on anyway. Another defense debuff? This is crazy coming from this Guzzlord. The Flamethrower going to go through here. This is resisted damage into the Guzzlord. Not quite enough to KO, which is a little unfortunate. I think the Stone Edge might have done it, but this just means that Bastiodon still survives, gets the Stone Edge into Lapras. There's almost nothing here to farm on that Bastiodon. Claydol going to come in now. There's still a shield up on Claydol. Claydol only needs to throw the Rock Tomb to secure the KO onto this Lapras, or you could even just get a little bit cheeky, go for some more, but let's play it safe. The Rock Tomb going to get the win against that Lapras. A little bit, it's actually the Clodsire in the back as well. Not where Clodsire wants to be at all. You would much have rather be in that Bastiodon matchup if you were that Clodsire. The Earthquake, you're going to be able to eat that one onto the Claydol. This Ice Beam is going to do a ton of damage to that ground poison type Clodsire, almost securing the KO and catching the move onto Bastiodon just to really rub it in. Clodsire gets the massive Earthquake into Bastiodon and now secures the game, secures round, and it gets to go into what I think is now top. I'll get back to you. Top 6, I knew it the whole time, but that does mean that Bastiodon is now 1 for 1. It didn't like dominate or anything, but it was able to soak up all of that damage, even getting 2 crunch debuffs. It still hung on and then acted as that final catch in the end to secure the win. At least we got to see some, and up against Rashab's team, I think we're going to see a lot more Bastiodon, because I'm seeing Credilli, that's great for Basti. I'm seeing Talonflame, Jumpluff, great for Basti. Azurill, playable. Drapion, playable. Even Malamar isn't actually that bad. I know I said it's a counter for Bastiodon before because it has access to superpower, but it's still actually not that bad. And so I feel like Bastiodon just has to come here. There is no hard ground type answer here in the top 6. And so Master Mihir is going to put on a Bastiodon show for sure. There it is in the back. We have the Credilli coming into our Shadow Jumpluff, trying to catch the move into Bastiodon. And to be honest with you, doesn't even need to be a catch because this Credilli is still going to try and throws the Grass Knot, but look how little damage this does. Bastiodon now up to a move when the Malamar comes in. That's sort of not great for Malamar because this Stone Edge going to add up a lot. It brings it already down to half health. You can see why this isn't that bad for Bastiodon all of a sudden. Honestly, if Bastiodon burned 2 shields here, it wouldn't be that bad. The superpower even comes in, debuffing the defense of the Malamar. Jumpluff going to swap in to go for the Aerial Ace. That would be enough to KO. There is no universe that a Malamar can KO the Jumpluff here. It's already been had its attack debuffed by the superpower. Credilli is now going to swap back in to try and get some big damage here with Rock Tomb. But Jumpluff actually forces the energy out of the Credilli, which isn't the worst spot to be in. But Mahir wants to keep this Jumpluff around, farming up a ton of energy, throwing the acrobatics just to make sure that he can swap out here as well with the maximum energy load. Catches the move into Bastiodon again. This is just, I think Bastiodon should start playing baseball the way he can catch these moves. And now it's just going to keep on farming up energy, throwing the Stone Edge. This would be enough to KO if the opponent doesn't shield. They let Credilli go. There's going to be more important shields in the future. Malamar coming back in now. The sort of supposed Bastiodon counter. Debuffing itself though, reducing its defense, and now it is the Azumarill in the back. This acrobatics is going to connect to the Azumarill. Actually, no, there's a shield still. And so now it is going to be that Lapras versus Azumarill. We've seen this matchup sort of go Azumarill's favor earlier on in this tournament. The player off going to connect to the Lapras. I think that Master Mahir's only chance here is to get a Jumpluff catch. And you know what? If anyone can do it, maybe it is Master Mahir. The switch time isn't quite up yet though, so still just going to go for this back and forth. Player off Sparkling Aria, player off. Health is getting really low now though. The Sparkling Aria going to bring it down to the yellow. Are we seeing the catch? There's the attempted catch, but the opponent does just stay locked in. But now Lapras doesn't. Okay, Malamar does get the KO there. But hey, Bastiodon coming back in the lead this time into the Azumarill. Mahir now needs to win the next 2 games to secure himself a spot in the winners finals. And Azumarill is not going to make it easy here. But as I said, this isn't that disastrous of a matchup for Bastiodon. I believe it definitely wins the 2 shield matchup here for sure. Stone Edge already bringing Azumarill down to almost half health, and the opponent now swaps into Credilli. Now, Master Mahir here doesn't really have a great answer to Credilli in this backline. He's got the Sableye and the Jumpluff. Bastiodon is kind of his best answer here, and that's fine, to be honest with you, because it's not like it was his best Azumarill answer by any means. So he's just going to keep on smacking down, eating all of these moves that Credilli throws, another Grass Knot, and then just going to bring in Sableye, bank Basti for later on. Foul play at this point, Bastiodon brought Credilli so low that is more than enough to KO, gets the shield out of Credilli, even going to eat the Rock Tomb coming back, and you could actually just Shadow Claw down there, which is why the opponent swaps into the Azumarill, goes to the charge move to get the KO here. And now it is just going to be Jumpluff's time to shine. There are still 2 shields on Master Mahir's side, so we can comfortably burn one of them on the Ice Beam here. And now farm up some extra energy, throw an Aerial Ace. Actually, I think he might have to go for the acrobatics. I think Azumarill is just barely too healthy. Gets the KO against Azumarill here. And then there's that Credilli, but it's actually going to be the Malamar coming out here, sort of thinking hey, look, Bastiodon's quite low in the back, so I don't really need a big superpower to get the KO there, but instead, I'm going to bring in Malamar now. No need to go for debuffing moves. I can just go foul play. There is an acrobatics coming though, and Malamar is not the bulkiest Pokemon. My friend Malamar going to go down to the red. Doesn't quite get the KO, but Credilli comes in. Aerial Ace going to be enough to secure the KO on Credilli. Little health on Malamar. And I mean, I was going to say, are we going to see another catch? There's no need for it. But Malamar goes for the superpower. The Fairy Wind goes through, and we are now 1-1 going into game number 3. Bastiodon has come again, and we have the Shadow Sableye into the Azumarill in the lead matchup. Not exactly like Sableye's bread and butter. It's a dark and ghost type. It has 1 super effective damaging a typing, and it is player up. It is fairy typing. Gets the Ice Beam bait, I suppose, and the Dazzling Gleam now charged up, ready to go again. Tries to catch a move into Bastiodon, but no need, and Credilli keeps swapping in here. It's just insane that, this is Rishabh's best answer to Bastiodon, and this is what I was saying. Bastiodon succeeds when opponents are not considering it in their team building. When they think there's no way that Bastiodon could come to this tourney, that is when Bastiodon strikes, and striking it is. Smackdown, taking all of these hits onto the chin, Grass Knot bring it down into the yellow, and catching the move into the Jumpluff. This is the Grass Knot. It is such a waste of energy for that Credilli. Talonflame actually coming out though. I think Rishabh was like, there's no way he brings it to a 3rd game. There's just no way. I'm going to get it on that Jumpluff. The acrobatics brings it down into the red already. Talonflame having to use its energy here as well is crazy. Bastiodon going to get that easy 2-tap smack down onto that Talonflame. Credilli coming back out. It used its energy on the Jumpluff a little bit earlier with the catch, and so now the Stone Edge getting the last shield, swapping it to Sableye, combo play, another charge move coming in. This will KO the Credilli, and now it is just that Azumarill in the back. Sableye can burn the Protect Shield. We'll get to the Dazzling Gleam to throw into the Azumarill. Great move timing as well. 2-turn move plus that 3rd turn for the charge attack, and Shadow Claw down the Azumarill to secure the game and secure himself a place in the winners finals, with Bastiodon getting 4 games in a row. All of a sudden, it's the Bastiodon hour. For those that are still watching the video, you waited well. Now we're into the winners finals, which means two things. Number one, Mahir has now placed himself into the top 3 on this tournament, which number 2 means that he is qualified for the Pokemon Go World Championships for the first time. But this isn't enough. Winning this tournament means that you get a travel award to fly all the way to Anaheim, California for this tournament, which I don't know if you realize this, but India and California are actually pretty far away. And so having that travel award support is really beneficial. It's almost needed to be able to make this trip. And so Mahir wants to win this tournament. He wants to put Bastiodon on the map, be the man that got that second win for Bastiodon after 3 years. And to get there, he's going to have to face 2 more opponents. The first, Nava Empire. Now, Nava Empire is widely considered to be one of the best battlers in India, if not the best, which is crazy to say when you have Master Mahir and Beelzebub on the same country. But Nava Empire has qualified for Worlds before, but he hasn't been able to make it. And now he's going to try and make it here. Nava Empire running the Alolan Sandslash, Furret, Jumpluff, Azumarill, Clodsire, Shadow Sableye. There's a chance that we get Bastiodon, and it's right at the start. Bastiodon into Azumarill again, and the Nava Empire actually swapping straight into the Sableye. Now, Sableye is that really solid safe swap Pokemon, and he's sort of banking on Master Mahir not bringing the Guzzlord, which is definitely the case here. He has not brought the Guzzlord and the Bastiodon in the same lineup, and so now this Jumpluff bringing the Sableye right down to the red, and can actually just shield up here and try and go for a Fairy Wind down. There's not even another charge move there. I thought that we might see one more, but no. Now going to go for the Acrobatics to get some big damage into this Alolan Sandslash. Doesn't quite take it down to half health, but this Aerial Ace will definitely bring it down to that yellow. And so now it is that Lapras into the Alolan Sandslash. We know that there is that Azumarill hanging out as well. And there is a shield advantage for Nava Empire though. Azumarill coming in, and this could give Mahir a bit of an opening. Because by swapping into the Bastiodon, you know that all of this energy from Azumarill is going to have to get soaked into this Bastiodon, which really is doing absolutely nothing. There is that Sandslash in the back, but Lapras has 2 charge attacks ready to go. As soon as Nava Empire swaps into that Sandslash, Lapras can come straight in and start absolutely hurling charge attacks into its direction, and by the point that happens, this Azumarill is already going to be quite weak from this Bastiodon. Getting a shield out with this Bastiodon as well, Mahir all of a sudden has the shield advantage in this game, which is insane when you have a Lapras with 2 charge attacks ready to go. He's almost at another move, he throws the move, the Sandslash comes in to eat it straight away. The Flamethrower would have been a crazy read, but it's still enough to KO. Lapras comes in, 1 Sparkling Aria. This is going to take Azumarill down to incredibly low health. Second Sparkling Aria coming out soon, but still, instead, going for the Protect Shield here. Knows that he can afford. He needs to go for a few extra Psy Waves, and Mahir actually going for the Ice Beam to get the KO here up against that Azumarill. Game number 1, going to Mahir. Game number 2, Sableye into the Alolan Sandslash, Bastiodon in the back again with that Lapras. We love seeing the Bastiodon gameplay, and again, rewarding people who stuck around. But Sableye, foul play, going to take it down into the deep-ish yellow. Shielding up the move here, it is just to the Ice Punch. I say just, it's still a lot of damage to that Sableye. And now, this foul play going to be enough to get the KO if Sandslash doesn't shield, and he doesn't, which does mean that it is Azumarill time. Azumarill's going to come in here, and Master Mahir decides, you know what? I don't really have like a hard dominant answer to this Azumarill. I need to get some chip damage. And so he goes for the Dazzling Gleam, swapping into the Lapras now to soak up this energy as well, and forces that swap into the opposing Sableye. Bastiodon is good into both Pokemon here. Azumarill and Sableye both give Bastiodon some play, especially if you have a shield advantage. We'll see how this goes though. Mahir, no shielding the Lapras, no, oh, it is the Dazzling Gleam, and it is time for Bastiodon. Bastiodon can eat a foul play, it can eat Dazzling Gleam, it can just smack down all the way through here. Shadow Sableye is not the bulkiest Pokemon, and actually going to swap into his own Sableye to try and get the move here. Azumarill swaps in to catch the foul play. Nava Empire playing well as well. Azumarill now down into the red. Bastiodon going to come in here. He's now at the smackdown. The Stone Edge. This will KO if it goes through, and it doesn't, which means that Nava Empire is throwing this resisted damage. Player off a resisted move into the Bastiodon. He's just trying to get more bubble damage into this Bastiodon. It is getting very low now. Sableye has energy, but Bastiodon has a shield, throwing the Stone Edge straight away into this Sableye as it comes in. This is going to get the KO against Sableye and secure the game, and taking out a 2-0 victory against Nava Empire, putting Master Mahir into the grand finals of the India qualifier. He is 1 match away from getting the win here. Can he do it? It all comes down to this, the grand finals of the India playoffs, to find out who wins the India playoffs for the year. Last year, it was Bilsaboy, and he went on to come fourth in the world. Who is it going to be this time? This is Master Mahir's first time in the grand finals, but it's not Bastiodon's. San Diego, Fresno, Portland, Melbourne, Bologna. Bastiodon has been here so many times, itching for a win, and Master Mahir is maybe just the man that can do it up against XX Dainsleif with that Credilli, Sandslash, Mandibuzz, Azumarill, Clodsire, and Malamar. The only thing that I know about this matchup is that Bastiodon definitely comes. That is all I can tell you. That is all I know, which means that let's jump into game number 3. If XX Dainsleif can secure the win in this best of 3, they will go to a bracket reset, but it is best of 3. No best of 5s here, and we are starting off with a Sableye into the Alolan Sandslash. No Bastiodon in game number 1. We have Lapras and Guzzlord actually making an appearance in its first time of the tournament for Master Mahir. Sableye going to get the foul play onto the Alolan Sandslash. We saw this in the last round as well. Shielding up here, it is the Drill Run this time, which is a little bit nicer for Master Mahir compared to the previous game. Tries to catch into the Lapras, but Azumarill going to come in instead. No moves to be caught, keeping that energy on the Alolan Sandslash, which could be useful later. Lapras going to go for the Sparkling Arias here. We've seen this matchup play out again and again and again. The Sparkling Arias, the play-offs going back and forth. Azumarill definitely in the driver's seat for the most part in this matchup. Master Mahir needs to find a game plan because Alolan Sandslash is going to be really bad for his Guzzlord in the back. He needs to have energy to fight that Pokemon later on, and he might need that Sableye. And so now, with the Lapras, he's actually going to let this move go. Lapras is going to come very low here, but does get the Sparkling Aria here. If Dainsleif lets this go, he will win switch advantage, and he does. Credilli going to come in, and the Guzzlord going to come in to answer it. This is exactly what Master Mahir wants. He needs this Guzzlord to avoid that Sandslash, and so he needs to use it here up against the Credilli. Going to go straight for the Brutal Swing here. Try and get this thing as weak as possible. He is down shields and down a lot of health here. This Rock Tomb going to bring Guzzlord very low. Going for another Brutal Swing just to try and get some damage onto this Credilli. Gets the shield out. Sableye swapping in. And it looks like Dainsleif is actually going to try and get the Rock Tomb debuff first. That foul play going to eat that last shield out of Credilli. Another foul play on charge attack priority is going to get the KO against the Credilli. No debuff here. Can shield up the move. One Shadow Claw. All we're going to need here to secure the KO against that Sandslash, and actually secures game number 1, avoiding the Sandslash into Guzzlord. Game number 2, if Master Mahir wins this game, he will become the Indian champion of the year. Lapras into Alolan Sandslash to kick us off. There is a Bastiodon in the back as well. There's a swap into Credilli. So many Credillis in the tournament have swapped into the Bastiodon. The question is, does Mahir swap his Bastiodon into Credilli? And yes, he does. After getting shield advantage with that Ice Beam into the Credilli, he's going to swap in Bastiodon here. He knows that he can soak up every single charge attack that this Credilli can throw. It may only take 4 bullet seeds to get to a move, but it takes 4 years for this Credilli to actually get a KO against the Bastiodon. The Stone Edge going to get that Credilli down into the red. We see the swap into the Alolan Sandslash. There is a double super effective flamethrower almost here on this Bastiodon, shielding up the move so we can get there, but maybe a miscalc because Alolan Sandslash gets another move. The Drill Run going to take down the Bastiodon. Lapras going to come in now, can eat a Drill Run for sure from this Alolan Sandslash, farm up a little extra energy before throwing the Sparkling Aria to get the KO. And now it is going to be down to what Dainsleif has in the back. Sandslash goes down. The Credilli comes back in. It is on very low health though. And Mahir goes, you know what? It's not Lapras' time. I need my Sableye to do some work here. He's making a prediction as to what might be in the back. We'll see if it pays off. He lets the Rock Tomb come through, bring it down to a below half health. And it is the Azumarill in the back. The bubbles are adding up a lot of damage here. The Dazzling Gleam is going to bring it down a little bit, but there's still a shield in play as well. Azumarill is just going to tank this on the chin, bubble down, and this set goes to a 1-1 match point. If Dainsleif wins this, we go to another set of 3. If Master Mahir wins this, he becomes the Indian champion. Claydol into Azumarill. He has left the Bastiodon at home this time. Alolan Sandslash proving a little bit too scary. Goes to the Rock Tomb to get the debuff onto the Azumarill, shielding up as well. Again, we know Mahir has that attack breakpoint on his Claydol, so his Mud Slaps are doing 1 extra damage every single time, really making this a much safer matchup for that Claydol. Another Rock Tomb debuff as well, meaning this Claydol can definitely survive the Ice Beam from that Azumarill, and so we see the swap into the Credilli, but there is no Bastiodon to answer it this time. Mihir's going straight for that Rock Tomb so that he can make sure that he gets that charge stack off before Credilli's own charge stack into Claydol. Taking the Rock Tomb into the Sableye now that it's been debuffed by the Claydol, and the foul play is going to add up here. We have that Lapras in the back as well, who is pretty happy to be avoiding this Credilli. But again, it is going to come down a little bit to what Dainsleif has in the back. We're going for another foul play here. A Rock Tomb debuff has already come through onto this Sableye, but the foul play still, no, it's not quite enough to get the KO. Credilli getting one extra charge attack, getting the KO, getting switch advantage, and now Malamar swapping in to the Lapras. No shields in play. A superpower is going to do so much damage here. Malamar playing it safe though and softening up the Lapras instead, tries to catch a move onto the Claydol, but it's all in vain. Dainsleif is taking this game, which means that he's resetting the bracket. It goes back to 0-0, and whoever wins this next best of 3 becomes the Indian champion. Game number 1. Bastiodon is coming back. It is Bastiodon's tournament, and he is here to show it. The Credilli swapping into the Bastiodon this time. We've seen this so many times before. Sableye, Lapras in the back once again. Credilli just going to keep on throwing charge attacks. Bastiodon throwing that Stone Edge to try and get big damage onto the Credilli. There's the shield already. It feels so bad to have to shield when you're up against a Bastiodon because it's not known for its big damage output. It's known for taking damage. And when you have to use your shields on it, you know you are not in a good spot. Another Stone Edge going to go through onto that Credilli. Now that it's been debuffed by the Rock Tomb, does it put it in a little bit of a better spot? Another Grass Knot connecting to the Bastiodon. It's getting very low now, but Bastiodon does get to a move here. Charge attack priority. Credilli going to get the KO here. Bastiodon going to go down, and now it is time to farm up some energy with a shield advantage. Lapras comes in here, and unfortunately, probably actually doesn't shield. The Rock Tomb going to bring it down to below half health, and now it is Sableye versus Azumarill. We do have the shield advantage. This isn't the worst matchup for Master Mihir to be in. Lets the Dazzling Gleam go as well. This is much better than it was that previous time we saw the Sableye into the Azumarill. Ice Beam getting the Protect Shield out of the Sableye, and I'm expecting another one to come up here. Sableye knows that it is not in a bad spot. The Shadow Claws are adding up quite a bit here. Gets up to 2 foul plays, past 2 foul plays, tries to catch a move into the Sand Slash, and Mihir goes, you know what? I love this. 1 foul play into the Sand Slash, 2 foul play into the Sand Slash. Are we going to get 3 foul play? More likely, we're going to go into the Lapras, soak up another charge attack from this Alolan Sand Slash. Sparkling Aria going to do a lot of damage to this Alolan Sand Slash. Psywaves might be necessary to get the full farm down here. Into the red now. Do we get the Psywave down? We don't. But this just means that Sableye is going to get that 1 Shadow Claw of advantage. 1 Shadow Claw onto this Sand Slash, and now it is just 2 Pokemon in the back. There's the Azumarill, couple Shadow Claws. Down it goes. Now it is that Credilli coming back in. The foul play ready to fire off into the Credilli. Enough to KO. Game 1-1 for Master Mihir. If he wins this game, that is it. And Bastiodon has come again in the back. Sableye, Bastiodon, ready to go. Malamar actually making an appearance in this game, hoping to find the Bastiodon, but instead we see the Credilli swapping in now. The foul play going to weaken down this Credilli a little bit. Actually getting a shield out of the Credilli. Now, by putting this foul play damage onto the Credilli, forcing the issue, it means that Bastiodon dominates this matchup. That is so much damage onto this Credilli. Bastiodon can actually just smack down all the way and will still win this matchup. Malamar is still hiding out in the back, but we've seen before, Bastiodon does a lot of damage to Malamar with its charge attacks, and so we actually get a shield out of the Credilli. They want to keep it around to throw that energy a little later on, swapping straight into the Malamar, knowing again, hey, look, this is my answer. And Malamar gets so low after eating a Stone Edge. Sableye going to come in now. We're going straight for the foul play to try and weaken it down. Another move straight away, trying to unload its energy where it can. The superpower going in. Bastiodon smacks down the Malamar, the counter to Bastiodon per se. And now it is that Azumarill coming in, and Master Mihir going to play this just like that earlier matchup. The Stone Edge is going to weaken down the Azumarill, and we're just talking about softening this Azumarill up so that Azumarill can take it later. We actually see a combo shenanigan going on here. Credilli coming in here to get the move onto Bastiodon. It's not going to be able to farm it down, which means that Credilli has to throw its move here. Lapras going to come in, just get a free farm, and now it is Lapras versus Azumarill, the opponent top left, and Master Mihir becomes the Indian champion. Securing the win in the Indian playoffs, Master Mihir was able to attend the Anaheim Pokemon Go World Championships for 2025, and not only that, he was able to place top 8 in the entire tournament at his first World Championships. Really just an absolutely incredible performance, and it was such a pleasure to watch as well. Of course, Beelzebub went on to win the World Championships as well, which meant there were 2 Indian trainers in the top 8, both of them doing their country incredibly proud, and Master Mihir is just absolutely a name to watch going into the future. I did ask him, did he have any intention of competing in tournaments around the world after this? He's only competed in India before now, and he said, look, there's a chance. He's looking at to potentially go to EUIC. So if it is something that you'd like to see, if you want to see him compete in the future, if you want to see him potentially stream, or even you're interested in coaching from Master Mihir himself, let us know in the comments down below, because he's definitely going to be taking a look, and we'd like to see a little bit more of Master Mihir, especially someone just so talented to place top 8 in their first ever World Championships. He's just really incredible to watch. And, well, as far as Bastiodon's concerned, well, the SmackDown nerf was reversed going into the 2026 season, and so maybe it's not going to be too long before you hear about Bastiodon winning a 3rd tournament in the Championship Series. I want to give a massive thank you to Master Mihir for helping me make this video, putting it all together, talking through his thoughts as he put his teams together, how he approached the different tournaments as well. I really do appreciate it, and I think that he's really going to be someone to watch heading into 2026, and you aren't going to want to miss it. I'm going to link to all of his sort of links down below. They're going to be in the description, and if you want to see Master Mihir doing some streaming, or potentially you're interested in coaching, let him know in the description down below, because maybe it'll just shift that needle just that little bit. Of course, thank you to my patrons and YouTube members as well. If you want to help support the channel, make these sorts of videos possible, all of those links are down in the description as well. With that said, look, if you want to see some more Bastiodon content, I suppose you can watch my World Championship video as well. I did bring Bastiodon. That was the first Pokemon that entered my team for Worlds, so I tried to make it work, and let's say there were 2 Bastiodon at the World Championships, and one of them came 17th, so definitely worth the watch for sure, and until then, I will see you in the next one. Bye.